everybody. Welcome back to Markers and Monsters for day 13 of Drawlloween. Today is Thursday the 13th. Oh, yeah, we're drawing Jason. So good. Out of all these slashers, I think he is my favorite. I'm putting it out there on the line right now. So this is really fun. Fair bit of warning. This is just a little bit gory, so if that's not your thing, you have been warned. Let's get right into it, shall we? As you can see up on your screen right now, I have kind of made Jason. He's holding an axe and he's splitting some dude's head like a log right in half. This was a blast to work on, and like I said, I just kind of want to do a fun, kind of gory Jason picture. Yeah, why not? Again, he's my favorite. So if you're not familiar with the slasher genre, that is where usually one masked killer or deformed killer or something like that stalks a bunch of usually college kids or high school kids or whatever in a setting and kills them. Jason from the Friday the 13th series is a slasher. Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street is a slasher. Michael Myers from the Halloween series. You could even argue to an extent that like Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that's like a slasher movie. So that's kind of what the genre is. If you're at all familiar with those things, then that's the slasher subgenre of horror, and it definitely differs from a lot of like the classic horror, like your Frankenstein and stuff. Like this series tends to focus on the gore, the kills, as it were, with them being, oftentimes getting more elaborate and creative and stuff like that. Especially as the series go on. Now, Friday the 13th has in the numbered sequels that goes up to Friday the 13th Part 8, and then there's even more after that. So Jason Goes to Hell, Jason X, where he goes to space. It's one of my favorites. Freddy versus Jason, the reboot. So there's a lot of these movies, and as they go on, the kills get more elaborate and weird. Eventually, spoiler alert, Jason gets killed, but then he comes back as an undead zombie Jason who is nigh unstoppable, and so that's an interesting turn. And that's one of the things I kind of love about this franchise is that it gets goofy, but it's always still pretty fun, and I like that. Some films, they start, like franchises, they start out really, really strong, and then the movies just get worse and worse. And I guess you could argue that for Friday the 13th, but when they get worse, they almost get a little bit better because they're so just like silly. Like they stop trying to be so serious about things. And this is a movie about a guy wearing a hockey mask killing a bunch of teenagers. You can't take this too seriously. It's going to ruin the fun. So yeah, this is coming along nice, and you can see I'm starting to put the gore in. We'll be inking here pretty shortly, and so I'm liking the way that this is coming along. Now, some of my favorite kills in the Friday the 13th series. Let's talk about that here for a minute. So my favorite, I would say, I don't know if it's my favorite, but the one I remember the most is from Jason Goes to Space, where his undead corpse is revived by some, attractive blonde doctor lady, and he wakes up on the space station and grabs her, and then he shoves her face into a sink full of liquid nitrogen, which you just have a sink of floating around because it's space, right? And then it freezes her face solid, and then he smashes it on the table and it explodes. That is a favorite of mine. I also like from that movie and another one where he finds some people camping out in the woods and he zips them into their sleeping bag and bangs it off a tree is another really goofy one I really like. Friday the 13th Part 6 is just a really silly movie with a lot of really silly scenes, and just they made it really goofy, which is kind of great. But at one point there's these people playing paintball, and he manages to simultaneously decapitate 3 people at one time with a machete blow. Classic. You've got Jason sticking a machete in the wheelchair-bound guy's head in Friday the 13th Part 2. These just go on, and they're a blast to watch, and they're just gruesome and silly and fun. Now, these Friday the 13th movies, I think one of the reasons they're my favorites is I watched a lot of them growing up as a kid, way more than, say, like the Nightmare on Elm Street series or the Halloween series or anything like that. I remember they were usually on TNT, like Monster Vision. Joe Bob Briggs would show them, and they'd be edited to heck and back. You wouldn't see any of the nudity, any of the gore, any of the good stuff, as it were. But they were still a lot of fun, and I don't know, just kind of a neat premise and interesting series. If you guys haven't watched any of the Friday the 13th movies, I would definitely say this is one where you can jump in at any point and you're not going to lose anything. Again, because story is a lot lighter. It's more about, people being killed and murdered and stuff like that. And so you can jump in at any point, you'll be fine. I would say my favorite of the series, though, is definitely in the 3, 4, and 5. I think are where the sweet spot is, at least for me. After that, like I said, part 6 it gets goofy. Then Jason fights a girl with psychic powers. Jason takes Manhattan as part 8, which is really Vancouver. He goes to space. Anyway, here's the scan. Take a look. This is a blast. I love talking about Friday the 13th, so if you guys have any favorite movies or favorite kills from the series, please drop a comment below or on Facebook or somewhere. Let me know, and let's talk about it. Here's all the rest of my social media stuff up on the screen as usual, so get in contact with me if you feel it. So thanks, guys. That's it for Thursday the 13th. We'll see you tomorrow on Markers and Monsters.